Hi everyone, I'm Oren, I'm the founder and CEO of Testim.io. I want to talk about end-to-end testing and all those that actually want to be continuous deployment, continuous integration. There's no such thing as being continuous integration without having automated tests and still doing everything manually. So just to get things set up and get to know you guys. So how many of you are developers here? How many of you actually know written some HTML, like know what HTML classes, IDs, all that? It's used to know. How many of you are working in software companies? Yeah. Okay. So let's get started. Just the right audience. So we're gonna get started. Okay. So I've done a few things. So usually I just say, hi, my name is Owen, founder of Testim, and yes, I always have a bad hair day. Same today. So we're going to talk about testing. All tests in general, whether it's automated or not, work exactly the same things. You actually do some setup, you generate some actions, and then you make some insertions. So every test, if it's manual, if it's automated but unit testing, if it's automated end-to-end testing, works exactly the same thing. You just measure a few different things. So in this talk, we'll talk about those actions. If you set up your server, you had Circle CI, do the entire building, your product, and setting those servers up, you need to actually now test it. And every action that you do in end-to-end testing is about the UI and is about usually finding specific element and clicking on it. So you have to click on it and add some text, and you click more, and then you actually, for the assertions, you actually find another element and just make sure everything is where you expected. So it sounds very, 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 very simple. All you have to do is find an element and click on it. And apparently 98% of the companies still don't do it and heavily rely on manual testing. So the question is, why are there so many people still relying on manual testing and not doing everything automatic? And of course the answer is because it's hard. It's hard because finding an element till now, we're custom of thinking as a developers, think about CSS, and specifically when we change their code and change the tags and we need to find and add some attribute like CSS, use SCSS, it's great and works great for styling, but it doesn't work great for finding elements on the screen. The way it's built, and most of you know, is that CSS gives you the way to actually find elements by tags, by properties. There's not just CSS, there's XPath as well. There's so many things, and of course I'm rushing is because I only have 20 minutes here, so I'm gonna want to get to the point. And you all know CSS. You have so many things that help you how to find an element, but usually it's one thing, one attribute. There's one way actually finding the element using a class or an idea. And the thing is that I want to show you why is it so hard how to choose that element, if I want to do a test and click it. So how do I use it? There's a few options that I have, and the question which is the best one. And actually to show you why all those actually are really you can rely on them, I've gained a game show. So for just 2 minutes, so let's just say there's a button I wanted to test, the automated test. Actually click on that button, that play button. We had the setup and we got everything in the database up and ready, and want to click that button. We want to write some code actually clicks the button. So what should we use? Should we use an ID? ID is nice, but if I run it again, you'll see, oh my God, it breaks after 5 minutes. So there's a lot of things that can happen. You run the test and it breaks. You want to understand why. I just ran it again. I just said, I knew there's an ID there and it's a unique identifier. Then I ran it again and then it fails. So what happened? Well, some components have random IDs. Did anyone ever saw random IDs in components? That makes sense because every reusable component doesn't have the same ID because you have the same component again. So you generate random IDs. So you won't have that. If you a different thing, let's just say, okay, you don't have random ideas. So, for example, I've seen all of these. Those are real examples. So if I look for I've used an ID, but make sure it's not a random ID, and then I ran it again and failed again. So when the symptoms one is that I've looked and find element by ID, I went to the console and it just changed. It means that there's a lot of there's the developers that actually write the code, and there's someone else in charge of changing writing the test. So it's kind of like aspect-oriented programming. There's one actually writing, and the other one is actually leaning on top of that. So every time they change the application, that what happens is that your test breaks. It just happens because that guy changed the ID without telling you. There's a lot more symptoms. So if I'm checking and I can't find it, but I knew it's not the two reasons earlier. There's a lot of like reasons like, oh my God, wait a second, it's in an iframe. So all the tools that we had till now actually assume that first you have to find the correct iframe to actually go and search that. And all those tools are built assuming that you know which iframe, but finding that frame element is exactly as hard as finding the element you want. So what you get is that it's still it's just another hurdle I have to go through. By the way, there's a lot of things that I've seen. For example, I'm looking for the element and using that ID, and then I found a different element. Well, that's because a lot of people use the same IDs twice, especially if they use it for components. I've seen it so many times that the browser does not enforce that you'll have a single ID. And the worst one actually that I saw was actually that sometimes they find it. Like literally, I ran it once, it worked, ran it twice, it didn't work. And then eventually I figured the problem was they had two bodies. The HTML had two bodies. That's a real thing. And by the way, here I'm just referring to if I'm going to use an ID. If I use different properties like the class, we'll say, oh, it's a reusable component. Let's use the class. So that means you're relying on the styling to actually find an element. That means that when you're going to change that, if you change the styling, that means now the test will break because it assumes having that class. And we all change the class and styling all the time. And when you have repeatable elements right here, what you do is, how do you find it? So you see things like horrible things like this, which is the nth child, and if you use I want to see the first element or the second element. Those are actually the worst. So after demonstrating, there's a few of those. I want to tell you what we've done actually solve this, because I've seen this. I've been building developer tools, the products for developers for the last 20 years, and wait a second, and of course. And then I try to actually see how can I solve this? How can I help developers writing end-to-end? We want to do it super quick because we don't have much time. And we want actually everyone can help everyone in the organization. Even when you open a bug, I actually want the QA to open a bug with an automated test attached to it. And I wanted someone to actually do the maintenance for me. So that's why we got, and we did about Testim. So what Testim does is like a self-healing test automation. This is the editor. You install an extension it helps you to actually listen to what happens. So we have the editor on the right side, and on the left side, what we have is our inspected page. Like imagine DevTools, you're inspecting a page. So everything I do here, we already know on the right side, okay, we've went to that URL, the converted page, that's the demo page, and we know that what resolution do we have, because some assertions we need to have styling, and it looks different because we have responsive designs. I know it's which browser that was, and now I'm gonna actually, what I'm doing is actually I'm logging in, which is nice. And what I have here is a couple of steps that actually, so I can run it again. So if I click play right here, that would run those steps, and hopefully that would log in. So it's going to run it. And the nice thing is that for each one of them, I got a screenshot. And I can actually see the screenshot versus the original one versus what I expected. And there's more than that. And there's more than that because now I want to reuse those kind of things. So reusing is just simple as just selecting a few elements, selecting and saying, I want to call that account.login. And now it's a reusable component, just like extract the function. It's a reusable component, so I can use it again and go and say, I want to use this and call this group again. And the nice thing is that every step here, as fast as I've written super step, it's still super flexible because you can change the value. This is just a JavaScript expression. So you can use, if you want random values, you can use date.now. You can use variables. I can use, instead of all this, I can just write, I can say username and pass it as an argument. And the nice thing, of course, is that we help you with running it either locally or in the cloud. So let's see if that demo application works, and if it goes in, maybe I just don't have the right password. Could be. Don't look. So this application right here. So what I do want to have, it's okay. We can make do with what we got right here. And what I wanted to show was actually adding validations is as simple as finding elements. You just click and what do you want to validate? That element exists. The element has some text, some pixels. All you have to do is just point at it. You can use the arrows to actually go up and down the DOM. And you got an element validation. The nice thing about it is that if we look, if we take a look inside, and we can see how do we find that element. This is the interesting part. The automatic maintenance of means that how do I make sure that tomorrow when I'm changing the style, changing the ID, changing the location, how do we make sure that we're still going to find that element? So we do that actually by, instead of the custom API, the CSS selectors that actually finds one element, what we try to do is actually create hundreds or thousands of different paths to actually find an element. So instead, you're not counting on one friend to actually help you find the best movie. You actually have 100 friends. And the nice thing is that if you knew that a friend giving you bad advice on movies, you'll stop listening to him. So the same here. If you know that one of the different properties actually finding the element doesn't work well, so you want to reduce that weight and stop listening to that element, to that property. So if we change a few of those properties, if you run it again, the self-healing mechanism will actually will make sure that if those attributes are still correct, then we bounce it up and say, okay, we should listen to that. So the important thing here is actually getting the updating the element and actually getting the maintenance, automatic maintenance of a component. So I'll show you in a demo. I'll show you an example. What I want to show is one more thing, which is let's just add a custom action right here, because usually you always want to have, there's parts when you have to have code. A part when you have to have code, that means you want to do some custom action that you can't just simply record. If you want to say this value plus that value equals to that value, but I don't know the values because I'm checking production right now, you have to use code. So code is something that you always needed, and you always need some small editor to actually help you out with that. And it would be great actually if you can use Testim actually to find elements for you. So the nice thing is that if the environment actually gives you a way to actually find the element for you, that leaves you with just the business logic. So if I want to set some random value, I can say circle CI rules. So that would be as easy as that. I've written custom code, custom actions. I can actually give it a name. Just say log in as circle as something. And the nice thing is that now I have a reusable component. Instead of that, I didn't record it. It was a custom JavaScript. So now I have a reusable component as reusable again. So that means anyone can use it again. And now I can set and pass different parameters as well. And the nice thing is that when I meant that everything is customized, not just as JavaScript, you can pass parameters. Everything you can connect to the CI. So that means if you're given a command line interface, actually run it. That means now you can hook it up. Every code change, you, starts running the test. That means if you're running either locally, or if you hook it up to Circle CI or any other CI vendor, actually hook it up and have them run the test. So the nice thing is that if you hook that up, we personally, for example, probably I can show, we hooked that up, and that's what we do at test them. And I don't have it here. Wait a second. I want to show you how fast we get the test results. So wait a second. I want to show you that super fast. The number of how many you expect to have all end-to-end testing to have them done, and getting feedback that you didn't broke anything inside your system. Say a large project of hundreds of millions of lines of code, dozens of developers. How would you expect to have someone have everything checked and ready? So an hour, two. So how much does someone has an estimation? How long does it take with your companies? So wanted to show you, for us that actually using Circle and running those tests, we usually get the feedback in a minute. That's usually under a minute. You get very rare that something gets over a minute and you get a response back saying that all the sanity tests, and so you actually run it on every code chain, every branch. So that's a nice thing to have. And the second thing is that the thing I said that it's great not just for developers, but also the entire team. That's why it's called test team. Is actually because of one big thing, which is, imagine you have, let's just take an example, let's say calculator. Let's see if we can find one. So imagine you have the calculator right here. So what you want to do is, you want to report a bug. There's a bug. We all know that 1 + 1 is actually 5. So we can record a bug. And by recording a bug, I expect someone to actually have open a ticket at Jira, explain what I did. So what we did was, we're taking the screenshot, we're getting videos. I can add just whatever you want here, and setting should be 5. And now actually what I want to do is actually you want to publish that, should be 5, and I want to publish that to my and create a ticket for that. And the nice thing is now I have a ticket with the screenshot, the videos, and an automated test. An automated test that I can literally run. Literally run means that now I wanna run it. Let me get, where was it? Now I have a test. Imagine the developers getting, instead of getting description, you're getting real description, getting an automated test that runs. And I guess I even want one more than that. I can even add a validation, add a text validation saying I want it to be 5. So that means right now I'm actually changing that. Instead of to get a test, I'm getting a test that fails. For a developer, the best thing what would happen to me was actually getting a failed test. That means that I have something failing, I fix the problem, now it's running and working, and then I go just add some flag and says, I want this to run on my sanity test suite. So that means on every code change. That means that this would never happen again. And if it does happen, then I'll getting the screenshot videos, the logs, and the network errors, everything I have to do. So all you have to do to get that hooked into Circle CI. Let me get that. Sorry, guys. Let me get that out of the way. And all you have to do is, when you connect them, you just use the command line interface to actually run. I've got set up a few public projects with an example with the Angular, Google Angular team, the material. So we wrote a few examples, so it's easy to actually see how to hook that up and how to run it. And you add 2 lines usually, just the lines that you need to hook your project, and actually running the gulp test, which runs the project. And you tell Circle if there's a problem, so you have the nice graphs and everything. You know what happens. It's usually that easy to get started and writing a test. You just log in, start creating your test, and still having those automated tests. And I'm guessing that right now it's a great time to get questions. So the question was, which browser does test team support when you use Circle CI? We started with Firefox, with Chrome, then we added Firefox. By the time this one goes there next week, I guess we also have Edge, IE, and Safari. And probably by the end of next month, we'll have mobile web as well. So it's almost like the evergreens, of course, and everything that relatively new is going to be supported. Thank you.